I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, can I stay here for the night? I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. No blind, out of sight and out of mind. No just for tonight, come with me, blindly. You know when you keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest Saturday night reaction with myself, Stevo, joined as ever by Ray. Oh, wait a minute, he's not here. He can't do the next 4 weeks, so I'm actually joined by another special guest. It is Gary, aka FPL Have a Beer. Hello, Gary. Gary?
Hello, Stevo. How are you, mate? sorry, I had a bit of sound issues, and I've got the video on in the background, and I was hearing you on a 2-second delay. So, yeah, how are you, mate?
Well, we'll get onto that in 2 seconds. I'm already annoyed by the fact that this storm seems to have taken out our internet. Everything was working absolutely fine, and all of a sudden it starts to lag. If it does start continuing lagging, guess what, Gary? I'm going to end the stream, and me and you are just going to do a Patreon podcast. It's quite simple, really. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this, well, as the title suggests, a disastrous game week so far. I am officially on -17. I'll simply explain. I did a -8 this week to get out some absolute shower of shite from my team, really. Those 4 players being Lewis Dunk. Another player, I've completely forgotten who that was. Who was it? Johnson, Haaland and Rico Lewis. Of course, Rico Lewis returns with a goal. Admittedly today, but he returns with a goal. Haaland scores a goal. The Liverpool game gets cancelled. and it's officially I'm on -18, and I've literally about 5 seconds before you joined me seen that Mazraoui came on the pitch at the 66th minute, which is just unfucking-leathable. And it has been an absolute horrific game week from my personal point of view. Don't get me wrong, my online gambling has gone really well, Gary. I always promote gambling. It's fucking brilliant, mate. I'm in the money.
Do you always put bets on like the opposite of your FPL team so you can't lose? Is that like the
yeah. So I put on. So what I do is I go for every single match, and all the popular FPL players that I don't own, I put 50p on, and then anybody that I do own but I haven't captained. So for instance, tomorrow was Saka because Jason's captained Saka any time. But yeah, basically my 50p bets are on the individuals that I don't own, basically.
So you can't lose, but you also can't win in some ways because you're going to win in one way, but you're not going to.
No, but I legitimately would rather it be for points rather than me not getting me getting money, which sounds really weird, but it just frustrates the hell out of me that I cannot believe that every single popular player you can imagine today has returned, and every player that I don't own has done. Well, basically, every player I didn't want to play every player I didn't want to get any points today has got points. And we were talking on your channel about the whole gambler's fallacy, and if I don't do anything, nothing goes right for me. If I do what everybody's doing that's really popular, it doesn't go right for me. If I just left the team, it would have been fine. And it's just this... Gary, I need help, mate, because it is... What would you... I mean, I know you... I mean, I'm not even saying this facetiously. I'm being absolutely serious. What do you recommend to people like me that are just having to do this? And it's just like, fucking hell, I cannot be fucked to talk about this shit. Because it just gets on my nerves, to be completely honest with you.
Well, in terms of making the videos, in terms of your team?
Everything. Streaming, videos, podcasting, all that bollocks.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was pissed off after last game week. I didn't have a great game week. And my instinct nowadays is always to do nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I've just done something, and because I can't remember what I did now, but it cost me, I did a double transfer and it cost me a couple of points. I just think, right, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to do anything, which is exactly what I did this week. I did absolutely nothing. Because I think if you then do something like it sounds like you've done, was it a minus? A
-8, yeah, to get rid of that garbage.
If it goes wrong, you're just kind of like going to double down on that shit, feeling shit then. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not saying that doing nothing's always the best thing, but, you know, not to panic. That's what I would usually recommend. But it's a bit late when you've already done it. Yeah,
the players I brought in they're all perfectly fine players. Trent, Timber, Saka and Jackson. In my opinion, they're all template. In fact, there's not even an opinion. I think we could look at it as objectively as you want. I think it is pretty much template them players. I got rid of players which are legitimately utter shite. Apart from...
Who did you get rid of again?
Dunk, Johnson, Haaland and Lewis.
Okay.
So you could argue...
You could still end up coming out quite well because none of the guys you've brought in have actually played yet, have they?
Well, Trent couldn't play, for starters.
Oh,
so I'm getting off.
I'm forgetting about that.
8 Nuri off the bench. Whoop-de-doo. I've then got, obviously, Jackson, Saka and Timber all playing tomorrow. So, you are right. As it stands right this second, if I'd have done nothing, I would be admittedly 0.2 down on my player's value. But I would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'd be 12 points up.
I would be really pissed off if I'd held on to Haaland for that long, and then the week you finally sell him, he's got 8 with bonus.
Yeah,
I think that would really piss me off.
Well, he gets an assist versus whoever it was the other day, Nottingham Forest. Then he gets the goal today. But to be honest with you, I'm still inside. I'm happy that I've got rid of them. I said to Ray that I'm relieved that I've got rid of the Man City assets. They're done.
Sorry, Steve. I know what I should have said when you said what would I advise you? Blame your consultant.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because obviously, who was it? It was either you or someone else. Oh no, it was on a Patreon that they said ever since you've been listening to Ray, your season's gone to shit. Now, I'd argue that isn't quite true. However, I would also say that there are some things that Ray has said to me which I've taken as gospel and have gone right, and some things have gone completely wrong. And Ray's a very safe, well, when he was playing FPL, he's a very, very, very player. He just literally sticks with templates and is happy to essentially be in an area in which he knows that every player he has is an absolute nailed guaranteed starter. He doesn't want points left on his bench. Whereas for me, I just want to have a various spread across my 15. I don't like having a shitty 4.5 midfielder when I can have someone like Rodgers. But the problem is, of course, is then you're tossing and turning between, do I play Johnson or Rodgers? And of course, the other day, it turns out that Rodgers was the better pick over Johnson. I know that was on the Thursday games, wasn't it? But I've now got rid of that headache, and I've got my midfield four of Palmer, Salah, Saka, and Bowen, who is my captain, Gary. I decided to go with my gut instinct after we heard the news today of the Merseyside derby being cancelled. I just thought, you know what? Palmer is the safe option. Even Saka, you could argue, is the safe option. I just said to myself, if, and it's unlikely, if Bowen on Monday gets a double-digit haul, like 10 points, and Palmer and Saka get 6 or 7, I'll be fucking fuming. Because I'm expecting that game to be quite end-to-end.
Well, when we did the watch along the other night, when I did the Wolves Everton game, Wolves are atrocious. And West Ham are a better attacking side than Everton, so you know it could be a comparatively you're comparing shit with dirt or something, but you know, yeah. I think you've got a good chance.
I looked at because what I like to do before I pick my team on the deadline day is I just like, especially with captains, unless it's absolutely obvious, I look at the home form, I look at the away form, and Wolves. I mean, Tottenham, for instance, I have a feeling they could beat Chelsea. Now, don't get me wrong, I've predicted 2-1 to Chelsea. I will not be surprised if Tottenham won 2-1. Now, Palmer could get that goal, yeah, he could do. But Tottenham at home, they're very good, Gary. They're very good. Chelsea away from home are also good. They score lots of goals, but they also concede lots of goals. The home form and away form suggests that game's going to end 3-2 to Tottenham. That's what it suggests, or even a 4-3. That's what it suggests. It won't end up like that. It will probably end up, like I said, like 1-0, 2-1, some bollocks like that. And then when it comes to the other decision of Saka, it was probably more closer between Saka and Bowen than Bowen and Palmer. And Arsenal away from home are very, very good. The history is in Arsenal's favour as well. I just looked at West Ham and Wolves. Wolves this season away from home, they concede an average of 2 goals away from home. They concede a lot. West Ham, on the other hand, they ain't too bad at home either this season. They're not too bad. So I just thought, you know what? They've got Bowen, they've got Kudos, they've got Antonio. Oh, wait a minute, they haven't got Antonio. Yeah. So they'll have some bloke called Danny Ings up front. And I think I've predicted 4-2 to West Ham. I think it's going to be the end of potentially Gary O'Neill. I think that, as Mark Goldbridge said earlier, I think that this is the match between the two managers which are on the firing line. And I do agree that whoever loses that game, predominantly West Ham's manager, I think if West Ham were to lose that, he's out the door.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, though, that West Ham are going to turn up on Monday evening. And who was it that was watching the game for us on Thursday? They were watching the West Ham. Who were they playing? Oh, no, it was Leicester West Ham, wasn't it, on the Tuesday?
Yeah, we didn't have anyone watching.
Apparently, Bowen performed very, very well. And actually, I was told you were really, really unlucky not to get a return from him. So I'd like to think that maybe on Monday evening he will get me something. Obviously, I'm up against a lot of Palmer captainers. Did you go with Palmer?
Do you know what, Steve? I had a lie-in this morning, and I woke up at about 11 o'clock to find out that the Liverpool versus Everton game was called off. So I didn't change my captain, but Palmer's my vice. So, unless, some sort of... I mean, it's annoying that if he doesn't come out, then I haven't got a voice. But I mean, I can't imagine him not starting unless he's injured. Would you agree? Or
Palmer's starting. That's 100% guaranteed. He's the only player that starts for Chelsea.
Do you know the thing that the first thing that came into my head when I saw that Liverpool Everton game was cancelled wasn't about my captain, because I haven't got any other Liverpool players. It was, I've not used my triple captain yet. Salah at some point is going to have a double game week where I can almost certainly, based on the form he's in, going to use my triple captain. You still got yours, or? Yeah,
I've still got it. It will be a fail though, because I just feel that my season now is just turning into what happened last season, which is just everything I do, it just fails miserably, and.
It's a very defeatist attitude, Steve.
Well, you're right, but unfortunately, I look at it objectively and go, well, I brought in these every single week, they fail, and yet the ones that I had beforehand are then starting to do well, despite the fact that form, fixtures, everything suggested to get rid of those particular players, they do well. I mean, take Mbermo.
What rank are you now, mate? What rank are you now?
Probably 1.8 million at a random guess, because remember, I'm on minus. I've lost 17 points.
I think what is probably pisses you off most. I'm at 1 million, but I have been really down this season. But your season feels probably like it's.
It doesn't feel like it is going back.
It is going back, but it affects them forward. So even though we've probably got quite similar ranks, I've been constantly going up throughout the season, whereas you're going backwards. So, I always try and view it as, just forget about it and go into the next game week.
Trust me, I keep saying this, if I had to do solo streams, I would not be doing this. I'd be watching Prison Break. End of discussion. I completely forgot about the Man United game because I was watching the Bill, and I then decided to tune into XFM, as in Ricky Gervais stuff, while watching the highlights of today's fixtures. And even though that sounds really weird, but I just completely forgot about FPL, despite the fact I was watching the Premier League fixtures on Sky Sports highlights. FPL didn't really cross my mind. So I kind of just forgot about it because I was mainly focusing on XFM. And when I get home...
You only had one player in that, did you? The defender who was benched.
That's right, yeah. I know, you just couldn't make it up, could you? And the fact that he came on, I genuinely didn't know he came on, Gary. And then I see that, because when I uploaded the team on here, I was like, 1 point. I haven't had anybody play today. And I kind of was thinking, hold on a minute here. Mazraoui. And then we just checked live score, and he came, and I just wanted to crush my phone. Because it was just one of those where I'm thinking, why the fuck would you bring on Mazraoui in the 66th minute?
To be fair, he's done all right for you since you bought him, hasn't he?
No, he hasn't.
Has he not?
He got me a clean sheet and bonus points. He lost the assist. He then got me 2 points against. To be honest, I'm gonna have to look on here at Mazraoui since I've brought him in? And the simple answer is he has, once this all loads up for me here, yeah, it's pathetic, Gary. Since that 8-pointer, 2-1-1-1. Now, admittedly, I haven't played him in every single match, but because
it
obviously
seem like the revolution is quite happening at Man United yet, does it?
No, Mr. Reed made a point that it seems that this guy has got, like every single Man United manager, has got a very, very tough task on his hands. And don't get me wrong, Nottingham Forest was always going to be a tough fixture, but at the end of the day, they're at Old Trafford. Man United should be... I mean, I'm not suggesting for one that they weren't looking to win that game, but Nottingham Forest are a very, very, very well-drilled unit. And know what they're doing. I mean, did you watch the game?
No, I didn't.
Okay. They're a very well-drilled machine. And they know how to, in my opinion, able to contain teams. And I think probably Man United fell into their trap, basically. Again, I didn't watch the match. I just couldn't give a shit about it. But
there's a lot of talk in the chat about Chris Wood, Steve. I sold him 2 weeks ago because he was going on that difficult fixture run, but he just keeps on going, doesn't he?
It's absurd that these players like Chris Wood, like Isaac, you could argue Jackson, are just every single week. Even João Pedro. In fact, I was thinking of you this morning when João Pedro went up in price again. And I thought, I say you laughed at me, but you kind of giggled and you went, you really think João Pedro is going to go up by 0.2 by the end of the international break? Well, he went up by 0.3. Since then, isn't he 6 million now?
Probably. I bought him in last game week, and I think he was 5.8 then.
Yeah, he's 5.9, and he's going to be going up to 6 million.
But he hasn't actually done that much, has he, since he came back? So it's surprising, really. Yeah, I'm having terrible. That position is like my
Achilles heel.
Yeah, Achilles heel. I sold Wood, bought in Isaac, then sold him last week when and then he's gone on to get 2 goals in the last 2 games, and I bought in Pedro. I mean, he did get an assist last week, but that's like my that's my cursed position in my team at the minute.
Yeah, I look at my team on paper, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Legitimately, it is. I think this team on screen is gorgeous. Trent, Mazraoui. This is for this specific game week. Trent, Mazraoui, and Timber. Bowen, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Pedro, Cunha, Jackson. A lot of people have got that team. It could be Jackson, it could be Isaac instead of Jackson, it could be, I can't even think, Evan Nilsson instead of Jackson. But on paper, it's good players. Unfortunately, it's not performing. And since these particular individuals have gone on to do really well, once everybody starts bringing them in, they're either benched or they just stop returning. And I'm kind of needing a miracle tomorrow, to be honest. More specifically, I'm needing a miracle on Monday evening. I'm needing Cunha to return, Ain't Nuri to return, and Bowen to get me a double-digit haul to make me feel good about myself. Because other than that, most people have got Saka, most people have got Palmer. One of them two are going to be captained because of vice captaincy, or they've just automatically captained. And then, of course, whatever people's sub-bench. I mean, I've seen some people who have got, and they didn't even do this deliberately, that have got Mbermo coming off the bench because they thought the Everton game was going to actually happen. I mean, so you woke up today at 11 o'clock. So what were the events of you picking your team prior to today and then finding out about the match postponement?
Well, I always pick my team. You know that I've made a video where I kind of a rant about deadline streams, but unless I will watch a deadline stream if it's like a last day of the season or something, and the games are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But if they're in the morning, I like to have a lie-in on Saturday, I'll be honest. So I always sort my transfers out on Friday, usually, from the deadline stream. So it was a bit weird getting up and realising the game had been cancelled. I mean, to be fair, I did see the above average FPL, they had a podcast on quite late last night where the headline was, could the Liverpool-Everton game be called off?
Yeah.
So maybe that should have set off alarm bells in my head. But it didn't. But to be honest, I'm really not bothered by it. As long as Palmer starts tomorrow, I had a benching dilemma between Cunha and Rodgers, which it's buggered me up. I've gone the wrong way the last 2 times. So at least I have both of them on now. And Salah, everyone misses out on Salah, don't they? So, so I just made my decisions as normal. And to be honest with you, as long as Palmer starts on, who's my captain, I'm fine with it. But my dilemma for next week is going to be I was going to go and in Braymo to Sameo, and then upgrade one of my 4.5s to Trent. But he's actually returned today, and yet that goal he scored was lovely. So I might have second thoughts on that now.
I do find with a lot of them, but I say a lot. 2 goals, one of them today, and the one against Leicester. Very fortuitous. Very, very, very fortuitous goals. And I hate them types. It's a bit like Connor Roberts last night for Burnley. Just out of nowhere, just pings it, and it goes above the Middlesbrough goalkeeper's head and into the back of the net. He could try that 100 times and he's never going to score.
True. And everyone's saying he's stuck out on the wing, and that's why everyone's been selling him. And he was out on the wing for that goal, wasn't he? And he basically dribbled inside and then took a bit.
I don't think it's just that. I think that's part of it, but it's also their fixtures. They're crap. This is the thing. People like me, you, and other diehard fans of the game look at this and go, well, they've got Newcastle up next. It's not that easy. They've got Chelsea away, Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton away, Arsenal at home. Those 5 fixtures are awful. But yeah, look at Brighton. Their fixtures are amazing. Look at Bournemouth. Their fixtures are amazing. And then various other teams that have got some decent fixtures which you could replace and Bournemouth with. But most people were looking at Brighton and Bournemouth.
I'll tell you one thing, Steve. I bet Brentford fans are loving it now. There are so many goals in their matches, aren't there? It's like it reminds me a bit of my team Newcastle back in like the 90s, just try and outscore the opposition, and you know what I mean?
It is nuts.
How many we concede.
Did you see the Collins goal?
I did, yeah. It was a Flecken assist, which annoyed me because I have him benched.
I mean, in total, he got 3 points, Flecken, in total. The assist, it again, if it just touches one person out of the 20 players that are on the pitch in that particular area, he doesn't get it. It just somehow bounces over everybody, and Collins just taps it in. It's just. I
think goalkeepers should get more for an assist, because they get like 10 for a goal now, apparently, don't they? I think they should get like 6 for an assist or something.
I think goalkeepers seem to be punished in this game. I loved it. Was it?
Yeah.
Who was it on your channel? I think it may have been Golden Goal Tom, or I can't remember who it was. It may have even been you. But you said that after you get 3 saves and you get that 1 point, then for every save after that, you get 1 extra point. Because, like someone says, how often do goalkeepers make more than 3 saves in a game? It's very, very rare. Unless you're Muric of Ipswich, who seems to be getting 9 saves a game. Other than that, I do agree that goalkeepers...
Someone on my channel said that's what it should be, because that's not what it is it? They get 3 points.
For every 3 saves, you get 1
that would
point.
Be good. Yeah, that would be an interesting change, yeah.
And I think there are some things in this game, like with goalkeepers, where an assist should not be 3, it should be 5. For instance, I'm just making up a number there. And like you say, scoring a goal. I mean, I remember in my own personal fantasy football game, I think I gave a goalkeeper to score was 20 points, something like that. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But I do remember being, like, for instance, red cards, I think I gave a -7, for instance. Yeah. And I do think that there's not enough reward for the goalkeepers for what they do, and there seems to be more reward for, for instance, a red card in this game. You get -2. Is that it? Like, it's just rubbish. I'd love to see if a red card in this game was like a -5. So really, really, what's the word I'm looking for here? That really punishes players for.
If they got a straight red, maybe the punishment you could lose 5 points. Where if it's 2 yellows or something,
it's just the same.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like a 1 and then a -2 or something like that. I think something like that. But certainly, I think that the point structure for certain positions is rubbish. I mean, I'm just looking here at Chelsea's next fixtures, and again, I'm glad I've got Jackson. I didn't realise there was European football on next week. There is, so Jackson's probably going to play the next several games. So he's got Tottenham tomorrow, then it's Brentford, then it's Everton, then it's Fulham, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth. Chelsea's next fixtures are absurd, Gary. So
how many does he have to go up to before the bookings get reset? Is it 18, 19, something like that?
It's a specific date in the calendar year, isn't it?
Is it? I'm not sure. I thought it was when they got to the midpoint in the season, wherever that is.
Yeah. So So that's what I mean. It'd be a certain date in the season, and then it just.
I'm sure it's 10. Not Steve-O. I'm sure I've heard Let's Talk FPL Andy say it's when they've played the amount of games it takes that team to that point in the season.
Right. Okay.
So it might. I can't remember if it was 18 or 19 because I remember there was one season like Liverpool. I think when they were at the World Club Cup, they were playing. It took them to like mid-January to catch up with everyone else, and the player was still at risk.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know the exact rulings. I'm sure someone in the chat, if you see there, what was that? It's after you play 19 games. JK is saying, right? Okay. So
yeah.
Oh, so we've only got a couple of game weeks to go. But look, if he gets the yellow card, he gets the yellow card. This is why we need good benches, really. And the people that bought in Nicholas Jackson, like myself, knew the risks. I mean, could I have got Isaac instead? No, because I couldn't afford him. But look at their next fixtures: Leicester, Ipswich. They are gorgeous fixtures. But Leicester at home under a new manager. We're going to see tomorrow how they cope with Brighton. They beat West Ham. See how they cope against Brighton. And then they've got Ipswich away, where it just always seems to end up being 1-1. So in theory, they're good fixtures, but realistically, no, I don't think they are. But, I mean, what was your emotions today? I mean, how did you consume today's football?
I listened on the radio and just kept an eye on BBC, and I watched, because I knew I was coming on here, I watched the, Sky Sports put out like the 3-minute things on YouTube. But to be honest, I really had no FPL interest today because apart from Mbuemo, I didn't have any other players. So there was very little. Basically, I've got 10 players starting over the next 2 days. I do have Pinnock and Flecken, but they were both benched. So today really was a sort of a non-FPL event for the day for me, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's going to be tomorrow that sort of my focus will really be on it.
Who have you got playing tomorrow?
I'll have to have a look. Give me a sec.
Because for me, I've got pretty much 11 players playing for me tomorrow. I've got João Pedro, Jackson, Palmer, Saka, Timber, Verbruggen, and then there's on Monday I've got 8 Yuri Cunha and Bowen in that particular game. So I'm kind of, like I say, after Saturday, it's just, you look, especially when all the popular players returned. Again, I've done well on the betting. I'm a pound up, give or take, £1.10 up on my original stakes. But unfortunately, from a points perspective, it's been rubbish. So yeah, what players you got left then?
I've got Fabianski. I actually have 2. I had 2 today because I had Rodgers as well. Got Fabianski, Gabriel, if he plays, Davis, Timber, Palmer captain, Saka, João Pedro, Solanke, and Cunha's going to come on my bench.
So you got Solanke then?
Yeah, which I'm not. To be honest, I could have actually done. The one transfer I did almost do is I could have gone straight. I could have gone from him to Isaac. I could afford that exactly, but having just sold Isaac the week before, it felt like I would be. Like I said earlier, I try not to overthink things, and it would have just been too much juggling of things. So I just thought, no, I'll just hold off. But then he got another goal today, didn't he, Isaac? But we'll see how Solanke does tomorrow. I've not enjoyed owning him so far, apart from apart from the 2 goals he got a few weeks ago, he's done pretty much nothing in the 5 or 6 weeks I've had.
Colm here saying, good evening everybody, welcome. If you are watching this, make sure you are hitting the subscribe button, the like button. It really does help support the channel. Shaq saying, when I watched Leicester versus Forest and he scored the brace, I listened to the commentary after his second goal from Carragher. Hold. Who the hell was that? Oh, Chris Wood. Colm saying, Brentford had a fairly easy run of home fixtures this season. Newcastle were the highest ranked so far, and they don't do well in London. Well, funny enough, I did a Patreon podcast today, literally like 10 minutes long, about just quickly looking at the history of the matches. Now, what's going to really surprise you is that the history has come through really, really well. So today it expected the Brentford versus Newcastle game to be very high scoring, because there's been, I think there's been 1-3-3, a 3-2, a 4-0 or something. It's been all high scoring games, and then of course today it's been high scoring. The shock one, which I was like, what the fuck, was looking at Aston Villa versus Southampton. On 4 occasions out of the last 6, this one result always happened. Can you guess what that one result is?
You said I'm going to be surprised, so Southampton win?
No. It was the result of Aston Villa always winning 1-0. So that's now 5 times out of the last 7 games that a team has won 1-0 in this fixture. I think Southampton's done it once. On the other 4 occasions now, Aston Villa have beaten Southampton 1-0. In the Man United...
I can ask, why do you put so much emphasis on that in your thinking, what the previous scores were? Because, you know, it's likely to be
ironically,
very different teams, different managers, different players. You know what I mean?
Well, you say that, but proof is in the pudding. And it always seems to come to fruition a lot of the time with history. I know Dan...
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
Dan always likes to back a player with history versus... Like, for instance, it will be him being an Arsenal fan. It will be, oh, we're at home to Brighton today against us. Puts 50p on. Who scores? Pedro, for instance. And I used to put a lot of stock into the history. And again, it's my bad that I don't really do enough with my own thought processes to kind of back up what I'm thinking. So I just end up, unfortunately, and I do blame myself for consuming and also creating lots of content which completely can confuse the fuck out of me. But when I look at, for instance, with the history, like with the Man United game, a team usually scores, there's always one team that usually scores 3 goals in this fixture. And what happens today? A team scores 3 goals. And also in the Man City game, those games are always high scoring against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace do okay against Man City. Usually Man City come out on top, but most of the time these games are quite high scoring, and that's another high scoring. I think that's now 2 2-2s, and there's been 2 4-2s.
Palace always do well against City, don't they?
Yeah, I think out of the last 7 now, they've only lost 3 or 4. Something like that.
They did the double over in one year, didn't they? In a year, I mean, I know City are shit at the minute, but if you do the double over them in a year when they win the title, that's some good go. That's good.
Even in the Everton Liverpool Merseyside derby, every single result across the last 5 results have ended with a team keeping a clean sheet, and I think 4 of those 5 it's been 2-0 to one of the teams. It was either 2. I think it was 3 times Liverpool winning 2-0 and once Everton winning 2-0. Just utterly mad. And I just find it really weird whenever I do look at the history and I see the results and I think, nah, I can't imagine that happening. And like for instance with Aston Villa today, 1-0 against Southampton, that history, and it ends up being 1-0. I find it very, very peculiar when you look at all this stuff, and then when you correlate, you go, actually, maybe I should have backed in the betting, for instance. But were there any? I like doing this with Ray actually. Were there any results today which you were like, fucking hell, I didn't expect that to happen?
Not really. I mean, as a Newcastle fan, I didn't want the Brentford result to happen. I looked like Yeah, I'd say that was probably the one because we looked really good against Liverpool, and we've sort of looked like we've been getting back on it. But I mean, I can't say I'm completely shocked because Brentford has scored. I read somewhere earlier on they've scored 40 goals in 8 home games this year. It's ludicrous how good they are at home. So,
Oh no, you mean they've been? I think they've been involved in the 8 games. They've had 40 goals. I think so. I think they've scored 24 or something. I can't remember what it is now. I could easily check, but it will completely crash the system. To be honest with you.
Yeah. How about yourself, Steve? Any shock you?
I think all of them.
Yeah.
I think that all the results today are like, sorry, what? So Aston Villa only winning 1-0. I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's Southampton. You're at home. Like, get a grip of yourselves. This is the kind of game that you should be winning 3-4-0. I was surprised that Watkins is not playing.
So Crystal Palace not winning 3 or 4 was quite a shock.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the one thing from Aston Villa is that Ollie Watkins didn't start, and I know Dan and Firetalk had him as captain. So
a lot of people were talking him up this week, weren't they?
Well, even me, I said that Ollie Watkins could be a good show. Brentford 4-2. I don't think it's but like you just said, I think the amount of goals that these two, I was expecting a quite high scoring game. I think I had it as, actually, I think I officially put it as 2-1 Brentford. I can't even remember now. Crystal Palace drawing 2-2 in Man City. Is it a shock? No, I don't think so. I think this next one, though, Nottingham Forest scoring 3 goals against Man United, that is surprising to me. That is one of those where I think, when was the, I mean, again, I'd love to check, but it's just going to crash everything. But when was like the last time Nottingham Forest?
Would it have surprised you if Ten Hag had still been in charge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that there's clearly something going on at United where, again, they've got all these extraordinary players, very highly talented players, but I just don't think they've got the balance right between defence and attack. And the fact that Marcus Rashford didn't start today was, he's in form at the moment, he's scoring goals. Why wouldn't you start him? Why aren't you starting Mazraoui, who's by all accounts being one of your best players in defence? There's things going on there where I think this Amaron's still trying to experiment, and unfortunately, if you've got Fernandes, well done to you. But other than that, I wouldn't be having any Man United players whatsoever. I only had Man United players in because they had, a few good fixtures upcoming, and it's ended up being, like I've just said, Mazraoui just getting nothing. I mean, obviously they got the clean sheet the other day, but he was taken off after 55 minutes.
Jason will be happy, won't he? Because I can never remember his name. Their Norwegian striker whose name sounds like Haaland.
Højlund.
Højlund, he got a goal, didn't he? Has Jason still got him?
Has he? I guess like, no,
he hasn't.
No, he got rid of them.
Oh God.
Mohit saying, "What's hilarious is that City are now without another defender for the next game. When teams are struggling, they screw up like City did. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, I'm really, really hoping that this whole thing with Man City completely screws them over. You never know; they may not even. I mean, they probably will end up in the Champions League, but the way it's going at the moment, the way certain teams are performing, the likes of, well, maybe not Aston Villa, but certainly Brighton and the likes of Chelsea, they're performing really well at the moment. And could you throw in your own team, Newcastle, in there, or do you think that they're just?
We're very. You don't know what you're going to get. Basically, I think we're playing well at times, but then there's days like today. I think we're sort of a grey fixture, an average sort of difficulty fixture at the minute. Yeah, I would say. I was just thinking, Steve, my tactic for the rest of the season is I might get Jason to send me who's going to sell every week and then buy them because they seem to be doing.
Well, you joke, but since Az got rid of
I saw that,
Haaland, and has now brought in Salah, it's completely backfired.
But you can't know that, can you? A bloody game's been called off for the weather.
No, that is true, but it's just one of these weird. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's just a weird coincidence that since certain people take out certain players, it's lo and behold, they're completely screwed up. What's your predictions on tomorrow's games? Then I've gone Arsenal to beat Fulham 3-1, Ipswich 1-1 with Bournemouth, Leicester, Brighton. I've gone 2-1 Leicester, and no, I've gone 2-2 I think, and then Spurs Chelsea. I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. What are you thinking on tomorrow?
Arsenal 2-0. Ipswich. I'm going to be a bit biased in this one because I've got Davis in my team. I don't know. I think you probably got to say 2-1 Bournemouth, but Davis will smash in a free kick or something for Ipswich. Leicester Brighton 2-0 Brighton. Wasn't Chelsea Spurs? Wasn't that the one that finished 4-4 or something last year?
No, it was 4-1 to Chelsea.
Was it? What was the one that was 4-4? Was that Man City? I can't remember. But I think that's got.
It was Man City. Yeah.
I think that's got a lot of goals in it. It wouldn't. Yeah, I think that will be. I'll go for a crazy score, 3-3.
3-3.
Well, neither of them are great defensively, are they? And
they held Man City to a 4-0 win. Remember this. What are you thinking then on the West Ham Wolves game?
I don't want to. I'm thinking 0-0, 1-0, 1-1. Probably 1-1. I'd say. I'll give Bowen the goal.
Well, Alex Vollo, the legend that creates our thumbnails, he's got Kudos as captain.
Really? That's out there call.
He's gone Kudos. I've gone Bowen. And we both would have had the information about the Merseyside derby being called off. So we've specifically... I mean, even...
When did that news come out? Was it like early in the morning, or was it like just 5 or 10 minutes before?
Funny enough, when I got home from Lidl, I came upstairs, put on YouTube, and I saw Gianni Batiste was live. And I was thinking,
Andy, Let's Talk FPL. Andy didn't have a deadline stream, did he? When I looked back, I couldn't.
Well, no, because of the storm.
I thought, was that the reason? Because he said in one of his videos yesterday he was at a wedding, so I thought maybe that was the reason. But I remember
it could be. I thought it was. I could have sworn on X he wrote that because of the conditions he couldn't. All the internet.
Maybe. Out. I remember. Do you remember when he went? I can't remember if it was a wedding before, and he calls it the prison stream, and he hired a room in a hotel to do the deadline stream, and it was.
I don't know.
It was really crappy conditions. I think it was the one where he got the news that Saka wasn't starting or something. It sticks in, but I remember that anyway. He probably would have gone through hell and back to get one out if he could have done, wouldn't he?
Well, I do remember that would have been, what year was that? Maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 1 or 2 years ago, yeah.
I think personally, we're now going to do an FPL Have a Beer conversation now, everybody. So if you don't want it, see you later. Go to watch Alf's stream on his channel. I think the landscape's changed a lot. I'm talking specifically from Andy's point of view here. A
little bit, and the video's been lagging for a few minutes.
I think we could be back. We could be back. Let us know if we're back. Come on. If it's not back, we're doing a Patreon podcast because I want to talk to you about this. Is it dead? Is it died? Yeah, it's dead. Right, I'm ending it. Right, that's done.
Well, it's back. It's back, Steve.